was he in the first 13 episodes, or did like this like buff ass lion just show up?
Pew pew, pew pew. Run, 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 run. Welcome to Podages, your critically nostalgic analytical tour through Digimon anime. Every week that intro makes less and less sense, but anyway, I'm your host, Jeff Ruberg. This week we're discussing Digimon Adventure, episode 26, Breakthrough the Sea Monster Barricade. And I'm excited to welcome back Annie, renowned Digimon-skeptic, Digimon-anti, and co-host of the critically acclaimed cultural sensation, Love It or Weeb It. How's it going, Annie?
I'm here. I'm alive.
You are by far the most famous guest I've ever had on the show, so I'm excited to welcome you back. Yeah, I think this is an interesting milestone to have you back because I last had you on episode 13. I had you watch 13 episodes of Digimon, a show that you knew nothing about.
Yeah, that was rough.
And now this is more of an experimental episode to see how you react to the show, having not seen anything since then. So you saw 1 through 13 and then nothing, and then episode 26.
Yes, can I tell you, from that time that I watched all 13 episodes to now, I've forgotten everyone's names.
They have no names. It's actually a myth.
Oh, great, because everyone was saying things and I was like, I don't know who that is. I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm curious to see what you come up with to describe them in. That'll be good content. So, Annie, what's your Digimon origin story?
I feel like I had to do this last time.
I'm curious if you have any discrepancies in your story this time.
Do I do it again? I feel like I said I watched it when I was little, but like I don't remember it. And then I think you yelled something about me having cable and being privileged. And then, or was that on our other podcast?
I think I do that all the time.
I think you do that every time. And
I think maybe you mentioned watching it on like ABC Family instead of...
Or like WB Kids or something. I thought that. And then you yelled at me and said no.
WB Kids was network television. ABC Family was cable. You can't even tell the difference.
Yeah,
as a privileged child.
Honestly, I was just flipping through channels and I was looking for Captain Planet. That was really what I was looking for. But
well, okay. So I just wanted to ask you that as a refresher for maybe people who haven't listened to that episode 13 weeks ago. But I have some more questions for you as a Digimon anti.
Oh no, I'm not anti-Digimon. I just don't love it or like it.
Okay, I guess more...
I'm neutral.
It's more apt to call you Digimon-skeptic,
yes,
but I think
that's good.
Calling you Digimon-anti is funnier. But there's a character in the episode you just watched, episode 26, who shows up in most Digimon seasons, and almost every time they show up, they die. Which character do you think it is?
Was it one of the big sea monsters that died?
That's probably true, but I didn't think of it that way.
What was it, Digimon or whatever?
No, I mean, yes, but like they're villains.
Hey, it died.
I guess. Okay, a non-enemy character.
I don't know. They die every season?
Almost every season.
The main one.
Agumon?
Yeah.
The little dinosaur?
Little orange thing?
Oh, no.
Wait,
no,
what about
the lion?
that, okay. I was going to bring that up. I was going to be like, was he in the first 13 episodes, or did like this like buff ass lion just show up?
No, he's been on and off for a while. If you remember, this is one of the episodes you watched where they were like in the desert and there was like these like cowardly little Digimon in a cave and they were like, oh no, we need to be saved. We're gonna go find some guy who's leading resistance.
Okay,
Does that sound vaguely familiar?
Yes.
So Leomon was the one leading the resistance.
Okay, so was this buff lion with like the one ear pierced?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
And the giant pecs for days.
I can't believe I don't remember him. Because I saw him and I was shaken.
Well, he wasn't visually
okay, good.
in the first episode.
Because I saw him and I was like, Jeff, what happened while I was gone?
So yeah, he usually dies almost every season.
Oh no.
It's kind of like a meme that like if he shows up, everyone's like, when's he gonna die?
Kind of homophobic of the show, huh?
What was that?
Nothing.
Okay. So 2 episodes ago, in episode 24, one of these characters had a dark evolution where they turned into like an evil version of themselves and like went berserk and was like gonna kill everyone until they got stopped. Who would you think it was?
The bug one.
The bug one. Tentomon, the flying little...
Yeah.
I guess he wasn't little. He was like the giant beetle.
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of mean.
Is it not him?
No, it was the orange little dino.
Oh, that makes sense.
It does make sense, but I was curious for your perspective because like they're acting like that didn't even happen.
Yeah, there's nothing to indicate that somebody had just went buck wild.
Yeah. They kind of mentioned it last episode, but like now it's 2 episodes ago. No one's ever going to mention it again. In the original timeline of the original show, Which of these characters do you think got married to each other?
Um,
Of the kids. We're not talking about Digimon.
okay,
Digimon don't get
good. I
married.
was like, oh, of the kids, is it the main guy and gal that we met first?
Who's the main guy? Who's the main gal?
Big hair and
Big hair.
Taichi.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And I hope you
Taichi.
don't mean. I hope you don't mean his sister.
No, no,
The
no.
little girl. The little girl's his sister.
The girl who got the next Digimon.
Ex Digimon. What?
The next Digimon. We met Taichi. We met
Oh, the one that
Yamato.
like you were on that week with the big bird.
Yeah, that one.
You
I can't
would think
remember
that.
anyone's name. I'm so
Sora.
sorry.
Her name's Sora.
Sora. It's been a while and I didn't pay attention.
They did not get married.
They don't?
They did not get married, but a lot of people were upset they did not. So
Well, like they met first, so I
Who-
just assumed.
she gets married to someone else. Who do you think she gets married to?
The other main guy. Yamato, Matt.
Yeah.
Wow, look at me.
You got both names. Wow.
Woo!
And which character of all of them do you think is in an emo band in the second season of the original show?
Yamato.
Oh, okay, well, you got that one pretty fast.
Yeah, because he's the gloomiest.
And who in the original epilogue becomes an astronaut?
The little nerd on his like iPad.
Wow.
What's his name?
No, he becomes like a tech CEO or something.
Yeah, that also checked.
No, it's also Yamato. He goes from being in a band to being an astronaut.
What?
So.
I was also gonna guess glasses dude, who like I feel like I remember liking, but he's less fun now, I think.
Yeah, he hasn't really gotten scenes. He's a doctor.
Oh, that also makes sense.
What do you think? So this is episode 26 of Adventure 2020. What do you think was happening in episode 26 of the original Adventure?
Well, how am I supposed to know?
I guess this isn't a fair question.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting to look back on for listeners and people like me who have seen both, because
Okay.
episode 26 of the original show was called Sora's Crest of Love, or in Japanese, Shining Wings Garudamon. So this actually was, you were on last time, episode 13, for the premiere of Garudamon. In the original show, episode 26 was the premiere of Garudamon. Just an
Oh.
interesting contrast.
Yeah, because we talked about how this show's going a lot faster than the original series. And I was like, what? Did they just meet the girl in the original series?
Well, no. What's weird is that like they didn't like in the original show they met them like all episode 1 except for Hikari, the little sister who shows up late in the original show. But yeah, those first 13 episodes that you watched, it was like everything was going double the speed, and then after that, basically they just put the brakes on and nothing's moved since then. So it's kind of effectively at this a very similar point now, kind of in some respects.
Okay.
But looking back at that, like. That just like that episode of the original show was like so full of emotion and heart, and it was at the conclusion of a couple different story threads, and like this show does not have any of that going on. So I have one last thing to ask you before we dive into this episode, and that's last time I asked you a couple quizzes. I had a couple quiz questions for you about concepts from the show to see if you had gathered them from watching. And now that it's been 13 weeks, I wonder if you've forgotten them or if the episode has reminded you of them. But what are the names of the evolution stages?
Why would you do this? I don't remember this.
I think it actually makes less sense from this episode. They don't really talk about it at all.
Baby. That's all I remember.
Okay.
No, there must be like an ultimate one, and then I got it confused. There's like a mega ultimate or just mega? You're not helping.
I'm just
Why
being
are you
silent.
not helping? Okay, I guess it goes baby, normal, teenager, ultimate, and mega ultimate or mega.
I love how you think one of them is just normal.
Well, because they go from baby to whatever they are most of the time. Like it's their default, it seems like.
That's true.
How is that not normal or regular?
That's so the ones that are featured in this episode are champion, which is what you were calling teenager, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the ones they're fighting most of the time in this episode are ultimate, which is also the stage that the other characters come in with. And what are the little toys they carry around? They didn't really use them that much this episode, did they?
Digivices?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I'm a king.
And what are the symbols that flash on the Digivices?
Don't ask me that. I'm not gonna know.
Okay, so you maybe passed with non-flying colors.
Hey, I got most of the evolutions right.
That's true. Okay.
I killed it.
All right, so let's dive into this week's episode. Episode 26, Break Through the Sea Monster Barricade, aka Hikari Ex Machina, aka the B Team joins the C Team. Like sea, like ocean, sea, like water.
Jeff, I hate you.
AKA swim to stall for the Seraphim, which I kind of stressed because I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be pronounced Seraphim. But anyway, AKA Why is it always a sea serpent, never a Madame Pint?
That is enough of that joke format. I need that to go away. Also, is this just like your opportunity in your podcast to like name all the puns you could possibly think of?
Kind of. I
I
mean,
hate
it's
you.
kind of. That's kind of the structure of in the dub. What they would do with episode titles, they would put in similar painful puns.
Oh,
Similar. Did I say similarful? Anyway, the spoiler policy for this podcast is that we're going to be talking about everything in the Crunchyroll episode, including the title and preview in the next episode preview at the end of the episode. And also I might spoil everything in the original Adventure season, but we're not going to be talking about any titles beyond next week or any text synopses that are available online. And if I spoil any other season aside from the original adventure, I will give fair warning. So, also something that where I'm going to be trying this week is shaking up the format of the podcast. Instead of doing an in-depth recap, scene by scene walkthrough, we're just going to have a general discussion. I'm going to give a quick recap at the beginning to preface and remind people of what happened, but we're not going to be going through scene by scene.
thank God.
So yeah, in this episode, in the digital world, the boys, TM, ride through the ocean on Eldoradimon, fight off a bunch of Siegemon / Warrior Siegemon / Mega Siegemon, and Taichi goes for a swim, holding his breath like a blitzball player. And meanwhile, in Tokyo, Koshiro prevents World War III by reenacting the Lord of the Rings signal fire scene with boat distress signals. And Hikaru creeps on them so hard that she accidentally teleports everyone to the digital world to solve Taichi's problem of forgetting to remember they can evolve to Ultimate. That was the episode. Annie, what? Normally I'd ask like what you thought critically, but I'm more curious.
Hey.
Like, what do you think was going on?
I can critically talk about Digimon and without knowing anyone's names. So I was very confused because I didn't watch any of the episodes in between 13 to now of what was happening.
which I guess I should preface. Like, I didn't. I wanted to do this as an experiment, not just for like torturing Annie or like a weird, bizarre like experiment for listeners, but also because like this is how we watched shows as a kid, right? Like we would catch random episodes and like know kind of what's going on and then like be intrigued enough to want to go back and watch. So I figured it would be an interesting perspective to see how this show holds up for someone who hasn't been watching it in like a streaming binge format.
That's true, and I am a child. So, I was just confused because it feels like it started off with like a kaiju fight in the sea and they didn't leave. They were just watching these Digimon fight each other. And like, if I were me, I would have been like, all right, something's going down. I'm out. And like, they just stood there waiting to be eaten. Why did they do that? Why didn't they run?
I think they thought they weren't a threat until they suddenly were, and then it was like, I mean, what's even weirder is that like they're on a giant floating turtle, right? Which I don't know if that was evident.
Wait, I thought they said they were on a cloud.
No, they left a cloud.
Oh.
So you remember in the episodes you watched in the original show, they went from like one island to a bigger continent. Like
Sure.
they're going across the sea.
Yeah.
So it turned out that entire world, like even that sea they were on, was part of a giant floating continent that they fell off of last episode with no explanation. They just kind of like there was like a little earthquake and they were suddenly off the continent. No explanation. Like I think they visually couldn't represent how they fell off the continent, so they just didn't, and they just were falling to the sky randomly.
Oh.
Which is a thing that happens.
Sure. Okay, so they're not on a cloud.
No, they were on a cloud before, apparently, but even Leomon didn't know that.
Great. Okay, and now they're on a turtle.
Right, the turtle was on the cloud before, but the turtle fell off with them.
I hate this show.
But like, what you're mentioning, like, why didn't they run away from, like, they're fighting, like, the giant sea serpents in the water. They could just leave, they could go further inland on the turtle and get away from the water to get away from these serpents, but they don't. So
yeah, it seemed pretty dumb. I mean, I get they're all children, but like, let's go, get a move on.
There was that scene in the beginning when Agumon and the other Digimon are eating those little eggs, which
yes.
I don't think this would be apparent to you, but those look exactly like the Digi eggs that the Digimon are supposed to revive into.
Oh,
and
are
it's
they
like,
cannibals?
I guess so.
Oh no.
I mean, in original Digimon lore, or like in lore that is in most Digimon seasons, like anytime Digimon dies, they get reborn as eggs. So like theoretically, if you eat the egg, they might get reborn as another egg. So maybe that is an infinite supply of food, if you think about it.
This is horrifying.
But they never, like, they're so vague about explaining these eggs in this season, because like they just mercilessly kill so many Digimon. Like last episode, they killed like an entire swarm of not even enemy Digimon. They were just like bystanders, and they just murdered all of them. So the morality of the season.
Oh yeah, they were pretty murderous last time.
Yeah, that's continued. It's gotten worse almost.
Okay, also, so if a Digimon kills another Digimon, they can gain their power. That's what I learned from this one.
Yeah, that is not normal. That's happened a couple of times in Digimon, but it's not like the norm.
I'm ready. Like, if that were me, if I was a Digimon and that was what happened, I'd be killing people left and right. I get it.
I'm glad you're not Digimon.
Yeah, you would be gone.
um, yeah, I found it so weird Leomon talking about leaving behind the Cloud Continent because it's like that was his home. That's where everything he knew was apparently, and he's just like, oh, well, let's just keep moving. And it's like, I mean, there were Digimon they were protecting there, like that episode in the desert with the Barrymon and Amon.
Oh,
Like they
yeah.
were protecting them, and they just left them behind. And oh, I guess also the big thing that happened since episode 13 is that do you remember how they were looking for the Holy Digimon, and also there was like a evil Devimon, evil devil guy that was like kind of chasing them a little bit.
Yes, I do actually.
So the Holy Digimon is the new little kid and his little angel thingy. Like he's not very angelic. The little how would you describe him? Little bat almost, the orange bat kind of thing.
Oh, I've seen that on merchandise.
Yeah, so that's the Holy Digimon.
Oh, doesn't this one turn into like someone? What's his name?
Angemon, the hot. He has abs. I'll send you a picture.
No, I already looked it up. Yeah. People are horny for this Digimon, and I need to put you all in jail, actually.
But yeah, so they found the Holy Digimon. They also defeated the big bad Devimon.
I'm sorry,
And
how does that little thing go into to turn into this person?
why not?
I
Wow,
hate
way to be.
Digimon. I hate Digimon so much. I've changed my mind. I'm no longer neutral. I do hate Digimon.
The weird thing that when they defeated Devimon and everything is that like it happened like the way they're split up this episode with the two main characters and the little brother Takaru in the digital world and everyone else in the human world, like that's how they defeated the big bad, and the four other characters weren't involved at all basically. And it's like what? Anyway, what did you think about the thing that was going on with the boats? Could you follow what was going on there?
I got that because in the beginning they were just like they're crashing into each other and all the boats are bad, and I was like, okay,
All the boats are bad.
cool,
Oh no.
boats are bad now. I'm understanding. And then what's his name? Little nerd, the computer.
Just call him Little Nerd.
What's his name?
Koshiro or Izzy in the
Koshiro.
dub?
I like Koshiro. That's cute. Okay, well that little nerd, he was like, "Oh no, all the boats' GPS isn't working and they're out of control," which doesn't make sense to me, honestly. But then he's like, "What if we send a distress signal?" And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And I learned a lot about boats that I didn't need to know, didn't want to know, but now I do know. And they just like played telephone with each other to stop crashing. I don't know why they were going. I don't know where these boats were going or like who was damaging them, but they sure were in trouble.
I mean, I guess the tiny bit of context that clarifies a lot of things is the last episode they were talking about how, I mean, this is happening to boats worldwide, but also boats in the, I think it's called the Strait of Hormuz, which is like off the coast of Iran, I think. So it's like, and it's apparently like one of the most, like 25% of the world's oil goes through that one strait. So it was like
Oh,
going to
yikes.
cause World War III between US and Iran. So that's why it was important to solve. But
That's a US move right there to cause World War III over oil.
I thought it was like it was a neat solution, but I feel like they explained so much that I was like, who is this for? This is not to make it accessible for kids. And they at the one time like were so thoroughly explaining the mechanism of basically using this satellite relay of positioning that would bypass the internet connected positioning system. They were so thorough in explaining that, but it never made any sense why they're referring to ships as being uncontrollable.
Yeah, don't they have like emergency systems where you can like throw an anchor or some shit and stop moving?
Yeah, or like manually take over the wheel.
Yeah.
But so like what they explained happening before is that like the internet connected GPS systems are not giving them reliable information. Like I forget what it's called, like AIS, the thing that's supposed to supplement radar, was giving them bad information. So that's why they were crashing into each other because they didn't have reliable positioning of other boats. But first of all, it's a supplement for radar, so they have radar. And second of all, you could just manually take over. So they kind of just hand wave all of that away and just say the ships are uncontrollable. And it's like, okay, that's fair. But then they give this thorough explanation of how to use this satellite relay thing and then still just hand wave over how that solves them being uncontrollable. Because so I'm confused why it's like if you're going to go this in depth and have this like elaborate explanation that's not accessible for kids, then why also write it so sloppily that you don't explain, like, so it's not satisfying. It's not satisfying for kids or adults. So It just seems kind of like a mess. But I also kind of found it weird how, like, the visual of Koshiro fixing all the boats and, like, them all relaying information to each other, like, it makes sense given his explanation that, like, it basically spreads. But, like, I feel like it's a mixed message to send to people because I figure I would not be surprised if people watch this and, like, it looks like a virus spreading, which is kind of what it was. It was like a good virus.
Topical.
Yeah. Um, but I was kind of the whole time wondering, like, if Koshiro can spread good information this way, an evil Digimon could spread bad information in the same way. So, like, I don't know. I thought the visual was a little bit weird to make it look like it was a virus. But
Possible foreshadowing.
oh yeah, I suspected both things over, but I don't know.
Well, maybe no, not boats. Maybe it's something else.
Hmm.
Is the show smart enough for that, in your opinion?
Uh,
That's a no.
it's mostly a no, but like I could see them. It is sloppy enough to reuse things like that we thought were like wrapped up. So
So who
it
knows?
could come up again. Yeah. That's not how whirlpools work. When the when the sea serpents like go in the water and spin fast enough that it creates a like pillar of water outside. And I'm like,
Oh yeah, that was weird.
yeah.
That whole thing was weird, honestly, with the sea serpent thing.
Yeah, it was nice to see the other like the B tiered kids and their four Digimon get to do stuff for the first time in a while. But like
Yeah.
they each just like crack a horn and then the sea serpents like regroup underwater and
Yeah, and then like that little infant shows up and like does nothing and stares blankly, and I was just like, "Who are you?" I forgot.
that's her role. That's her job.
Oh, is it the little sister?
Yeah.
I don't know what her deal was, but she just like showed up, did I guess something, and then everyone was like, "Why are you here?" And she's like, "I don't know." Like a
Hi,
little
brother.
possessed doll. It was so weird. I think I hate her.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like early in the show they kind of made her. Do you remember in like the first couple episodes where she was acting a little bit weird, like she was like sensing things, but she wasn't like soulless. She was like kind of like looking off in the distance and like creeping out her mom. But like now she's
Ew.
just soulless and just like,
Yeah.
hey,
She seems like a little like empty vessel, you know?
yeah.
Like a demon was in there and took over and then left, and now there's like not much going on.
Yeah, I want them to just get to her more, and because I don't think that's the intent. I think she's gonna actually have lines, but I don't know. I think the thing they're going for is like how much more accepting a younger child would be of this fantastic scenario. But I think they've taken it too far, and she's just like too chill about everything that she doesn't have emotions.
Yeah. It's uncomfy, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I don't remember when you were last on if they did that segment at the end with the like encyclopedia.
Maybe, but I also remember you yelling at me for not watching the after credit scenes.
Oh, okay. Did you watch it this time?
Which is a tradition I kept up this time of not watching the after credit scenes.
Oh boy, okay.
Hey, I'm consistent.
Well, this Digimon Encyclopedia entry was not that exciting. It was just sometimes they've had funny jokes, sometimes they haven't. Sometimes they've had bad jokes, but this one was kind of cute. You know, we saw Zudomon, the giant. Is he a turtle? The giant thing that like has a big shell, and Koshiro speculates that like maybe he has different shells because he gets in the lore supposed to get them from defeating enemies. Yeah, it was fine.
Great.
Let's move on to the 3-word reviews at Pastelmon Art. Magical Girl Hikari.
At Megadramon22, Hikari is creepy. I agree.
CC Takato, Hikari needs emotions. I also agree.
At Lucas Lucas, Gazebo Ex Machina. Hey, you made the same joke, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. At Grim Catician, Creepy Yagami Stairs. Yeah, Yagami is Hikari and Taichi's last name, family name.
Oh.
Yeah.
At Leo Sketch, what just happened?
That's your perspective.
That's me.
At True Softman, Deadliest Digital Catch.
At Dak and Jackster, Jaws theme music intensifies.
No music. You're making it not a 3-word review.
Shit. Let me try it again.
It's fine.
No,
it's fine.
I'll do it again. No, fine. We're moving on.
Okay. Andy Lucas TT, Improbable Lung Capacity. Did you ever play Final Fantasy X?
I played it a little, but I played 10-2 more.
Wow, what a girl.
Yeah, excuse me. More appealing.
or a gay guy thing.
There was more dancing and singing happening in 10-2. Thank you very much.
I'm still confused how, like, not half the cast, but like 3 or 4 of the characters in the original 10 could just swim underwater indefinitely and didn't have to breathe, and then others couldn't, and they never explain it. That's a weird game.
It's called being good.
Yeah, sorry, you're right.
Anyways, at Dot Yawning, kids breaking things.
At Empire Well, Sora was awesome.
At Gigadramon22, Digimon Horde Battle.
At Prince Adam, literal hornbusters.
At Ursam Roblex, same animation frames. Oh, that's a good point. I was irritated at that too.
Oh, like when the like Bird and Leomon Digimon were fighting?
Yeah.
And just like doing the same attack. Yeah.
Also, I was laughing when the serpent, the sea serpent one, Seadramon, killed the other one, the one that looked like a lobster, but I know was supposed to be a shrimp. Or the Digimon, like when it was like powering up, it just like held still for a while, and like a blue light slowly came on in, but like around him, and I was laughing. I was like, all right, that's a full 10 seconds here of the same frame. Let's keep it going.
At Happy X2 meeting, will Falcomon talk? Falcomon was the bird that kept throwing like bomb thingies.
Oh, I see. At Golden Pelt, World War averted.
I guess so. I guess
For
technically that
now.
happened.
For now.
Yeah, just wait until the shipping wars start. Once Sora goes for Yamato instead of Taichi, that's the new World War. Anyway, on to listener comments and questions. First off, some comments. First off, from DigiFan8, and they said, a much better episode. Now they simply have to slow down the action and give a bit more background and plot, and they will be golden, which I worry will not happen. But maybe
That's
it's
also
possible.
very funny. It's like, hey, they just have to change the whole structure of the show.
Just, yeah, flip everything on its head, and then it'll be great. It'll be great.
Okay.
At Gigajimon22 said, also, sorry, I guess Gigajimon22 also asked some questions, but I pulled out the comment into a separate thing. So he said, I was a little disappointed the return to the real world didn't give us a frame of the 02 kids as young babies in the background as an Easter. So this is referring to in the original timeline, there was like a second season that introduced 4 more kids that were like a couple years younger and moved the original cast to like an older like senpai role. And I agree it would have been like a neat, because I guess now this arc of having some kids left in the real world, it would have been a cool thing to just like show that you're in the same continuity, like show that those other characters exist in some form in the background. I think that would have been a cool Easter egg, and it wouldn't have implied that they become characters in this season or anything. Just could have just had them there in the background, and like, yeah, it would have been a nice tease. But
yeah, I wouldn't have known a damn thing.
So next comment from Lucas Kukas, and they said, man, that whole boat saga was such a non-event. With how most of the team was relegated to the side until the main boys took care of Devimon, it feels like these writers aren't interested in actually writing an ensemble cast. I won't be surprised if they're separated again soon. And yeah, I totally agree, because I don't know. Like, I, especially early on, was excited for them to split up the cast, because typically when Digimon splits up the cast, they get to tell interesting character stories and see the characters bounce off each other in interesting ways. But this show has used the characters splitting up as a way to just focus on 1 or 2 of them and kind of ignore the rest of them.
Yeah, I think that's why I didn't know anyone's names, because there was too many people, and I just didn't care to like pay attention enough for when they said one line with someone's name once.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you had seen the last like 4 or 5 episodes have been kind of focused on Taichi Yamato and a little bit of Tucker, with the other 4 kids stuck in the real world. And maybe that would have been more accessible to you, because it would have been a smaller cast to get to know. But I don't know, what Digimon typically does to solve that problem is like, split the team into 2 groups or 3 groups or something, and then have an episode that's just on 2 or 3 characters, and that actually like develops them as characters. They go through something together, and I guess we got some of that in the first 13 episodes we watched.
Yeah.
And that was like, at the time, I thought were kind of lacking, but looking back, I'm like, oh, those are much brighter days.
Yeah, it was easier for me to remember people's names back then. I think the last episode I did, I remembered people's names. But I was also watching 13 episodes of it, so.
Yeah. Okay, so on to a question from Digimon22. Do you think homeostasis or Tailmon was summoning Hikari to the digital world? So I know these are not words that mean anything to you, but
yeah, it's just all nonsense.
Tailmon or Gatomon is the dub name, is Hikari's partner Digimon, the little cat thing you maybe seen on merch and stuff.
Sure.
And homeostasis is a whole giant can of worms. Is a thing that regularly possesses Hikari in the original timeline. Anyway, I think that I don't know. I don't think it's homeostasis. I don't think this show is going to have homeostasis. I mean, I don't think we've seen any evidence for that, so it seems like it would be completely out of left field at this point. I assume it was Tailmon or some form of Tailmon. I assume maybe Tailmon is still some, like Ophanimon or some higher angel form and pulled her into the world for some reason. But we've gotten so little evidence that it's kind of just throwing knives in the dark at this point. So next question from Megajimon22. And the first question they asked is, who's cleverer? Adventure Izzy, 02 Izzy, our Wargame Izzy, Try Izzy, or 2020 Izzy? And for reference, Izzy is Koshiro. So
okay, so I won't know the answer to this, correct?
You only know 2020.
Yeah, he's great.
You just called him like little nerd boys, so
Yeah, that doesn't mean he's not great. I'm just saying, out of all of those, yeah, 2020 Izzy all the way.
uh who's clever? I mean,
Dan.
uh hmm, I think the thing with Koshiro slash Izzy is that like I don't think he actually in any of these iterations. So I'm not complaining about 2020 in general, I'm complaining about like the way Digimon uses Izzy slash Koshiro in general. I don't think it's actually super consistently even as much as the other seasons are good with like consistent characterization, I don't think they're consistent in Izzy slash Koshiro's intelligence level. I think it's basically just whatever the plot needs. So like he can go from being like a relatively, I don't want to say the word prodigious because that is the name of the podcast almost, but he can go from being a relatively like talented young programmer who like knows a little bit more than he should as a 12-year-old to someone who can just like hack into international satellites in like the blink of an eye. And it's like, okay, like he's not, it's not like a that's not like a semi-talented hacker for his age. That's like the best hacker in the entire world, and you just you have to suspend all plausibility and all disbelief to make that leap, and that's fine.
King shit only. He's either the best or he's nothing at all. So
Yeah. So I don't think it's fair to really like. So in terms of like who's clever, it's like whichever one of these plots requires him to be the most extreme. And I feel like our war game has a bit of that because he does have to hack into like military satellites. The 2020 Izzy Flash Show, I think did a little bit of hacking into international satellites in the beginning of the show. I don't think this plot with him doing the boat thing was more clever than hacking into international military satellites. I think in Try actually got the most like actually trying to solve an unsolvable problem for like days. And it wasn't just like, oh, I hit the beep a boop up and then I uploaded the international military satellite thing. So I don't know. I think I think Try they actually showed him being the most having to struggle and having to do things. The narrative set up as actually being difficult and complicated. So
yeah, I
yeah.
totally agree. I remember that like it was yesterday.
uh, so next question from Megagen 22. It's no more ridiculous than him hacking into the military satellite systems to get online with Tai, but what did you think of his solution with the boats? Seemed too easy, but still acceptable? I think like I mentioned before, I don't think it was too easy. I think it was, my main complaint was that it was too verbose an explanation for the audience. Like, too much detail for something that didn't actually explain. It's like for people who could actually follow the explanation, it didn't make sense fully. And I feel like it was just there to have enough words that people were convinced that it meant something, which
Yeah.
is, I guess, a style of writing that works for some people. And last question from Megan22. Is it a common anime trope for pure innocent little girls to be creepy like Kari? What's up with how creepy Kari is in every season in Japan? Is this the trope you're familiar with? Because I can't really think of anything other than Digimon.
Sometimes there's like creepy little girls. I can't really remember a lot of them, but like they usually turn out to be like 1,000-year-old beings, you know?
Right, like I think like creepy evil girl is totally a trope. Like
Yeah.
especially if there's some kind of like horror monster or something.
Oh, for sure.
But like the fact that she's like so innocent and that's kind of what's creepy about her is that like how blank and innocent she is. I can't connect that to any other tropes.
Well, I don't know. Well, maybe she's gonna be evil later. Like we don't know. They're maybe flipping it. But it's like I don't know. I think it's a thing where like little girls who like look cute and innocent just like have no personality also. But again, normally they turn out to be ancient beings or annoying.
Yeah, I think that's actually more of a like objectifying them into a sexual
Ew.
target kind of thing. Like
Gross. Well, sometimes I'm thinking first thing that pops into my head is from Kokurio, the bed and breakfast.
oh, the one you like.
Yeah, I like it. There's like this one girl who shows up. I think she's like blonde. I can't remember her name. And like the main girl's like, "Oh, little girl, do you need help or something?" And then she gets knocked out and she's gone. Like this little girl has like this blank kind of like stare, and then she gets evil. It turns out. Spoilers, but well, not evil. She just wasn't nice.
Well, like when you look up like creepy little girl, there's like tons of examples of that trope.
Now you're
like,
on a list. Now you're on a list, Jeff.
Okay, wait. I didn't look up like sexy little girl. I looked up creepy little girl.
That's still too much. That's still too much, and now you're going to jail.
I mean, so like TV Tropes has a creepy child entry, which has a lot of things in it.
Gross.
But I think this like mix of Kari being like the creepiness coming from how innocent and blank she is I think a little bit.
Well, I wouldn't even call her innocent. I'd just call her a ghost. I don't think she's like innocent.
But I don't think the narrative is actually trying to make us creeped out by her. I think they're just making us think we're supposed to be intrigued and curious, but not creeped out. So I think it's an accidental side effect that she comes off as
I guess.
sinister.
I don't know. She's freaking me out.
Well, it's kind of fun. In the original show, her crest, her like attribute that she represented was light. So that's kind of why everyone, kind of defaults to terms like innocent and stuff with her. So next question from Pastelmon Art. The fact that these kids forget they can go to perfect slash ultimate drives me insane, to be honest. Do you think there's a reason for that, like saving energy, or it's just rarest convenience? So I'm sure plenty of people would argue that there's a reason that they're saving energy, whatever. I don't think so. So Annie, just for context, like the whole episode, Greymon and Garurumon, the two main, like the orange and blue Digimon, they're fighting at not their highest level they've formed. They've actually have like
Yeah.
one more stage above that and an upgrade on top of that. So like there's two stages they could go above that they haven't gone to while they're fighting Digimon that are at a higher stage. So like they're completely outmatched the whole time. And it's like, why not just go higher? Like it doesn't make any sense
Oh.
until the other kids come in and they are at the higher stage and they're able to beat them. So it's like, I don't know. I don't think there's a good reason, especially since we saw them eating food at the beginning of the episode. And usually in Digimon, that's a sign of like, oh, they ate food, they rested, okay, they're good to go. So
That
yeah, I
makes sense
don't.
to me.
Yeah, and it's also like the show has been inconsistent. Like last episode, the Digimon were like, "We're too tired, we can't fight. We're too pumped." And then in the middle of the episode, Taichi and Yamato are like, "We have a plan." They run out and like as if they're gonna do something themselves, but just are like, "No, guys, evolve!" And it's like they just said they were too tired, and they just evolve. Like, so I don't think the show is even capable of like keeping track of what it itself said about how tired they are.
Wow.
So I don't know. I think it's just lazy, awkward writing, which is weird because like they were kind of like Greymon in the water was kind of outmatched. Like it could have been middle Greymon in the water who was fighting two ultimates, and that's why he couldn't beat them. But instead, I don't know. I really, I it, I can't think of a good reason. Just awkward. So
I was just laughing at you, just like, well, can't defend the show. It's awkward. Bye.
that's kind of the season in a nutshell.
Rip.
So next couple questions from Grim Catician. Since this season is a bit of a best hits type deal, what are some mechanics slash plot points, etc., from other Digimon seasons you'd like to see here? Anything you think would help at this point? So Annie, I assume you don't have any ideas for this. Do you remember any other Digimon concepts that weren't in what you've seen?
Digimon, digital monsters.
The English dub theme song.
Yes, I like it. That's all I got for you.
So I think I started thinking about this question, and I think that it's like the thing that my mind was thinking in this direction because of realizing that this episode 26 in the original show was the episode with Sora's Crest of Love. And to kind of recap for you, Annie, like in the original show, like around episode 20, they defeat this like guy they've been fighting for a while, and they finally get to the ultimate level, and they defeat him, and then like after in the aftermath of that one battle, Tai gets sent to the human world, and like the rest of the team is kind of like without their leader, and they because he disappeared for a while, they split up and go all their different ways. And Tai has this interesting episode where he's in Tokyo alone, kind of with Kari being creepy, and then he comes back, and because of time dilation, he comes back, and it's like months later, and everyone's split up and is kind of like falling apart, and then he kind of has to go around and like reunite everyone. And throughout that whole time, Sora is like acting in the background, helping everyone out and like preventing them from getting into trouble, but she's too like focused on her own like insecurities about showing affection that she doesn't want to outwardly show affection. And then the episode 26 is when she kind of like everyone in the group forms together again, and she finally is able to like show her emotion outwardly in a way. And it's just weird to look back on that and be like, that's such a cool arc, so emotionally satisfying. And this show has laid none of that groundwork for any of that kind of interesting character development. So I'm like, like even if they did cool concepts like Taichi disappearing for a while and then everyone splitting up, it wouldn't have any of that character development to make that meaningful or interesting. So I feel like the only thing that would be like a thing that I would want to see. I guess I should also read the second question from the edition. Similarly, if you were writing the rest of the season, how would you proceed? And I think the only thing that could like salvage it at this point, in terms of like making it not that like it's unsalvageable, not like it's terrible, it's a disaster, and it's a dumpster fire, because I don't think it's that bad, but to make it as emotionally resonant as the original adventure would be to just start laying that groundwork now. Like we could have like a couple episodes, maybe they split up, and they actually in those episodes that they're split up focus on character stories and build up the different characters and their insecurities, their issues, their worries. And that's something they could start doing now, but I don't think they're going to do it because that's not the show this is trying to be. It's trying to be an action roller coaster, and I just don't think they do a good balance because I think it is possible to do a fun action roller coaster show that has you need like some minimal character development to make you invested in the characters. And I don't know, at this point, it's
Yes.
like they've been around so long without developing them that I'm not sure what they can do to right that ship.
Nothing. They should end the show now so you can't ask me on for any more podcast episodes.
I'll have you back on in 13 weeks. And
No.
I am curious where we'll be in 13 weeks.
Still in quarantine, baby.
I meant in Digimon world, not in real
Oh.
life.
Wow, in 13 weeks, it will have been a full year since I've seen you in person.
Oh, wow, huh? Wait, no.
Yeah, 13 weeks is 3 months plus some change.
Oh, I guess so, yeah. It'll be in February, yeah. Did we last see each other to see the Sonic movie?
No, we saw each other at work.
I guess so.
But
That's the only thing I remember.
that was the first 2 weeks of March, and so 13 is 3 months and a
13
week. So
going on
it'll
30.
be basically a year since we've seen each other. Wow.
Wow.
Thank God, honestly, that I feel like year for me.
Oh, well, anyway. I feel so, like, bad kind of, like, railing on the show for, like, not having character development and then be like, the only way to fix this is to have character development. But also, that's not the kind of show, it's never going to happen. So it's like, I feel like I should reframe my expectations in terms of things the show could do to improve, like
Kill some of the kids and then focus on the ones that
murder
are
them.
left. Yeah, they've already murdered Digimon. What makes humans so much more special, huh?
That's true. I mean,
If you die in the digital world, do you die in real life?
you think you're clever for coming up with that, but
Wait, is that a thing?
it was a thing around episode 20 of the original show. Like,
Well,
there's an arc where Tai he finds out that it's a digital world. He's like, oh, it's a digital world, so like you can't really die here. So then he like acts all brazen and like puts himself in danger and almost gets himself killed. And then later learns that like, no, actually, if you died here, you die in the real world too. And then he's like, oh crap, I don't want to do anything, and like is afraid to do anything. And then he gets over that courage. Then he gets over that and starts to show true courage. And then he evolves Greymon to Metal Greymon. And so like, you're just reminding me of the actual like basis in character motivation and character narrative and emotions that the original show had. That's making me sad.
that it's not good.
Yeah.
Sorry
like,
to this show.
I don't know. I also keep thinking back to something the previous guest on the show, Toya, mentioned a couple weeks ago in referencing Cross Wars, which had a really like powerful emotional moment that I can't describe in detail because it's been a while since I've seen that show. But like I don't think that season Cross Wars did much. I don't think it was nearly as strong in characterizing a lot of the main cast as Adventure was, but still had those like powerful, wasn't it, emotional moments even without that. So the show could do that, but I don't know. There's some part of the formula that's missing.
I don't know what that is. I wish I did.
Yeah. So I think any cool scenario I can envision, like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if like this Digimon came in and did this kind of evolution or like caused this big like plot point to happen? Like I feel like at this point it would be kind of soulless. But my mind is open, and that's why I'm going to keep watching, keep podcasting about it, because there's always the possibility that it defies my expectations. And even if it doesn't like surprise me and blow me out of the water, it's still interesting to see how it progresses. So anyway, I think we should close out the show now. Annie, do you have any final thoughts? How was this experience coming back to the show after 13 weeks?
Confusing, and I knew even less people's names.
If you had to rate this episode out of 5 yummy Digi eggs that are totally not cannibalism, how would you rate it?
2?
Wow, that's higher than I thought.
Well, I don't really know how well they resolved things from the other episodes because I wasn't here for that, but give them a 2. They tried.
I hate when I feel like so many weeks I just agree with the guest in terms of rating.
Didn't you agree with me last time too?
I think I did, yeah. I think I just like I'm so susceptible to other people's ideas. Like I just get incepted all the time. But
that's true. I do bully you out of your own opinion a lot.
I think I give it a 2-star. Also because, sorry, not 2 stars, 2 yummy Digi eggs out of 5 yummy Digi eggs, because I think it was a bad episode. I think the plot in the digital world with the Digimon was boring and uninteresting and frustrating how they could have resolved it if they just evolved one more time and didn't do it. And I also think the resolution of the boat plot was frustratingly tone deaf towards the audience, like not explaining things for the adults, but also explaining too much for kids and not making sense for either group. And it is so contrived how they brought them together in a way that I'm interested to see how they explain that and resolve it going forward. But like, it just felt awkward watching this episode on its own, which is how we have to rate it on its own. This episode was just like, huh? What? Why? Like, no one's acting with the weight that that interaction should have. Like, that can happen the way it did on paper, and it would have sold me based on the way the characters reacted to it. And even if Kari is a blank slate and Hikari doesn't talk much, okay, her reaction makes sense with that characterization, but everyone else's reaction was just like, oh, cool, we're here again, cool, awesome, we're not going to question it. It's like, So even with all those negatives, I am excited for them to actually all be in the same place together and to not be written off again and to not just be the Taichi Yamato show, which it has been for a while now. So I feel like without that positive, it would have been like a 1 star. But the fact that they're all together again now raised it back to 2 stars because I'm just happy for the Taichi Yamato show to be over. So, Annie, did you have a favorite character, an MVP?
No.
No, that's your MVP.
Well, the little nerd did a lot, I guess, for the boats.
All right,
Koshiro?
little nerd.
Little nerd. Hey, it's not a bad thing to be a nerd. He just is.
I want to give it to Leomon for continuing to be hot and buff.
I hate you.
But like he just did the same animation like twice, and it wasn't good either time because like this is a minor detail that I don't think would be noticeable to you at all. But like the attack that he does, where he does his like Juoken like fist thing, it looks different than it has in the past. Like it awkwardly like slides off from off camera, or like slides from off camera into his fist. And I'm like, why is it doing that? This is not how it's ever been depicted before. So I think I won't give it to him. I don't know who to give it to. No one deserved it. No one was good.
Wow. What about my boy?
Your boy, little nerd.
Yeah.
I don't like how he explained too much.
Wow.
Like one thing you have to learn as a engineer is how to effectively like condense your summaries down to a way that's accessible to people on other teams who aren't as proficient in technology as you are. And he didn't do that, so
Feels like you're being unnecessarily harsh on him. He's like 2 years old.
That's true.
He hacked a boat, I think. I'm not quite clear on how he got the distress signal out if he didn't hack a boat, but hey, he did.
I think he did hack one boat, and that boat signaled to everyone else. And I also find it so implausible. Like I really appreciate. I'm gonna give it to Mimi actually, because Mimi had that one moment where she was like, "Do it faster!" Like that was a good reaction shot that I think will be useful on its own. And also like when Kosho's giving that explanation, he keeps being like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this, and then if this thing happens, and then if that happens, and then if that happens, and then it'll all work out." And then I really appreciated Mimi's very like soberly being like, "That's a lot of ifs. Are you sure it's gonna happen?" He was like, "I don't know." So Mimi carrying it with the like realistic expectations and actual like I don't know, she'd be a good project manager.
Sure, she didn't really do much else, but yeah.
One trend I think is interesting looking at the results of the Twitter polls I'm posting each week is that last week was a big drop, which I think is like I noted on the graph that I tweeted out last week that there were like 4 big drops in the show. Episode 7, episode 13, which is the one you were on last time. Episode 18 and episode 25. And this week has rebounded some, but it's definitely rebounded the least of those 4 episodes. So it's rebounded some, but it's still kind of pretty low. So, oh well.
Rip Digimon.
Digimon's over. Digimon's done.
Digimon's over party. Hashtag.
I think we're getting. I guess on that note, next episode is titled episode 26, To the New Continent. The recap, the summary just mentions that they're on a new continent with powerful Digimon attacking one after another. And I'm excited for it to be a new arc, a new storyline, and it seems like there's not a lot clear what's going to be happening next. So like, I'm open to see where things are going. Like, could be fun, interesting. It's kind of a blank slate at this point. We have a couple threads that are left in the air that need to be resolved. But other than that, it's like could go in completely different directions than I expect. And I seem to not watch the next episode preview.
Sure didn't. Woo!
One thing that I wanted to note in that preview that I think is the most bizarre is that we see Patamon getting angel wings, which is not a thing that I don't think has ever been Digimon before. Because like Patamon evolves into that giant angel man guy, giant hot shirtless angel man, and but Patamon having angel wings as Patamon is a little weird, and like I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm curious. Although if we're talking about Angemon, I'm a little bi-curious. I can't say that anymore now that I've been dating men for over 2 years, can I?
That you're anyway. Curious? No, I guess you could still, ever learning more about yourself.
I'm a little bit past the point of being bi-curious at this point.
Lifelong learner.
Well, anyway, that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Last week's Digiprompt was in honor of Mamemon slash Zuromon slash Hyrule Warriors. What Digimon would you want to see appear in Adventure 2020 as an endless swarm, and how would the main characters mercilessly kill all of them? And my favorite response came in from Austin LC23 on Twitter, and they said Agumon, because maybe then they'd have to stop and think about what they're doing for a moment, which is a very good point. And honorable mention goes to AgoChamp64, who said every form of Omnimon, because I think that'd be funny, because Omnimon slash Omegamon needs to get his comeuppance. He needs to be shown his place.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Yeah,
100% agree.
Yeah, for totes, for reals, man. Like,
listen, are you bullying me?
Omnimon was the thing that appeared in episode 2 and 3 that where they merged, and it was like, what's going on? Yeah.
Sure.
He came back while you were away, and
oh, thank God.
It was like the worst animated episode of the show ever, and it's like, this is supposed to be the hypest moment, and they didn't animate it. No one even moved. Well, anyway, this week's Digiprompt is in honor of the Taichi and Yamato show maybe finally being over. What two Digimon characters do you think could carry an entire show with no other characters involved? So send your Digiprompt responses and general feedback to potages@gmail.com, potages on Twitter, or in the episode comments on our website, potages.com. If this is your first episode, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or in traditional podcast apps. And if you want to support the podcast, share it with your friends who will creep on you long enough that they magically send you to a digital world with no explanation. And please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps new listeners find the show, and I really appreciate it. If you want to find me on the internet, I'm Definitely Jeff on Twitter. Also, check out my general anime podcast, Love It or Weeb It, which I do completely solo, have no co-host.
Excuse me.
And actually, I've been mentioning this every week on the podcast that the next episode of that is going to be the BNA episode, and it's finally going to be out this week. I swear, I finished editing it.
Are you lying? It's been so
I edited
long.
it. It's done.
Okay.
So if you need more of that furry Leoman energy, watch BNA, because Shiro is and he's pretty horny for Shiro on that podcast. So
I don't remember how over the top longing I was for him in that episode, but it is the year of the furry, so I bet it was pretty bad.
I think it was mostly reined in until we started talking about Shiro's choker.
Oh yeah, that shit was lit. I loved his choker. I get it, it's like a collar thing, but it looks good. Did I tell you that I bought a bunch of chokers after that?
I did not need to know that.
Not the dog collar ones, just fashion ones. Because I was like, that's a cool look. And then I was wearing one, and a teen told me I looked good, and I was like, yes, thank you,
wow,
teen.
You got the teen vote. Wow.
Yeah, that means I'm cool. Maybe they thought I was one of them.
I mean, you do look like 5 years old, so.
Okay, hurtful. But also, the lady at Taco Bell told me that she liked my hair color, and I was like, wow, what are we?
Well,
had a good week.
If people want to find you outside of Taco Bell, if they are a teen who wants to compliment you for being a cool teen,
yeah,
where can they find you?
They can find me at any other name on Twitter.
And don't you do a general anime podcast?
I do. It's called Love It or Weeb It, that I do completely solo. I don't have a co-host or anything. I just freestyle about the newest anime.
I've heard really good things about that show.
Me too.
Although they haven't had an episode come out in a while. Why is that?
It's not my fault. Blame my editor, who I pay good money to get things out on time, and he's just slacking.
Where's this money?
I'm sorry, I don't know. Why would you know anything about my funding?
Well, anyway, thank you all for listening, and I'll be back with another guest next week to talk about episode 27, To the New Continent. Bye!
Bye!
And remember, never stop Digivolving.